Today we're going to talk about the iconic horseshoe pedal that Profile brought out in the early 80s. This is the first version of it here. It was a complete horseshoe pedal. The second version, we had cut the end off it and number one to lighten it, and we did them both out of aluminum, and we did them also out of magnesium. So I want to show you what we found here in the dungeon, so if you'd like to, come on, follow me, and we'll have something exciting here. Well, here we have the mold that the horseshoe pedals were made from. This mold was originally done by the foundry for us. The original prototypes for the horseshoe pedal were done actually by a company. They're called pattern makers, or what they are, and they were done out of New Jersey, and they're actually done out of, carved out of wood, the original ones. So what we did here is the original ones that are made out of wood really aren't really for high production, but they're good enough to do prototypes from. So once we decided we were happy with the horseshoe pedal and the design, we decided to go ahead and make this is an aluminum pattern, actually, is what it is. The pattern is made in two halves. You have one half here. Sand casting is quite an art. What they do is this plate here will be attached to what they call a core box. And this plate here would be sit like this. The core box would go on top, and they would go ahead and pack sand into this core box. And it's a special, very fine sand that has an additive in it. As that sand is poured into the mold or put into the mold, it's tamped in around all these little areas here, and when they're done with that, they'll go ahead and release this from the top of the mold, and what you're going to see is this exact thing imprinted in the sand in the mold. And then they'll go ahead and turn the pattern around. And what you have here is the other half of the pedals. They do the same process again. They'll go ahead and put a core box around this, pack the sand into this, and these risers here actually is where the aluminum is actually poured into the mold. It's in a liquid form, as we all know, when it's molten. It'll go into the mold and go around all these cavities and come out over here, and it pushes all the air out of these cavities. And then they'll go ahead and let the mold cool down, and they'll take this whole piece that's actually in the mold, or in the sand cast, I should say, or sand mold, and they'll go ahead and put it in a vibratory box, and they'll vibrate it, and all the sand will break off the castings that are in that that are all hooked together like this. All four of them will be all hooked together as one piece, and all the sand will come off, and they'll take them from there, and they'll go ahead and they'll cut all these pedals off right here and get rid of this excess aluminum that was poured in it, and they'll take this aluminum and remelt it again to be used later on for more castings. We also did another version of this. This is this version here. This is done out of magnesium, and we wound up cutting the end off of this, but we realized there's really a substantial difference between aluminum and magnesium. The aluminum weighs about 8 ounces, which is what this pedal would be right here after it came off the casting piece here, and you have the magnesium, which is almost a little over 3 ounces lighter. So that was a real advantage for us, because we were after the little kid market at that time, and this 3 ounces is a lot, in the bicycle industry, as we all know. The reason for the design of this pedal was, as I went to the races, I would watch kids racing, and I was always looking for an advantageous part for a racer where he could actually try to get ahead of somebody. And the reason was for this horseshoe pedal is most of the pedals that were out there were just square boxes like. And what my thinking was behind this, though, is that we could go ahead and make this pedal with the rounded edges on it, or the rounded end on it, give a bigger platform where the foot could stand on it, and allow the person that was riding to be able to go deeper and lower into the corner without hitting the pedal into the dirt. And that gave the rider an advantage. It could have been a half a bike length, it could have been a full bike length, but it was definitely an advantage. We had some pros that were riding these for a while. They loved them, and that's sort of the story behind the profile horseshoe pedals. So, thanks again. Hope you enjoyed this version of from the dungeon. Also, while filming this, we also wound up that we had a couple bonuses here. One of the bonuses was, this was a one-off set of gold pedals that we did back in the 80s. Never went into production, but there's a sample anyway. And the other thing was, this is the original box that the pedals came in. We found this box, and in that box is a brand new set of pedals. They have a 1/2-inch thread on them, which we all know, I believe, it was all one-piece crank stuff at that time. So this is quite a find. We're excited about it again. So stay tuned for more exciting ventures into the dungeon. So.